So right now it's Thursday, which means we don't have the greatest sample size yet, but we could take an early look at some of the trends of what's going on in the ladder for both Europe and North America. What specs people are playing, what specs people are climbing on, what the community is interested in, and what's kind of doing well at the higher ratings. And honestly, it might be a good thing, because I think likely what's going to happen is that we are going to be seeing changes coming on Friday. So maybe this will give us an idea of what needs to be changed, what needs to be maybe buffed a little bit, what needs to be nerfed a little bit, maybe what's okay. But it is interesting. So I want to take a look at the ladder. Let's do it. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a look at... Let's start off with 2v2. I'm going to look at a bunch of different stuff here, okay? So we're going to look in both regions, which I like. Shout out to Drusvar. You can actually look at both regions combined. So you can see the trends across both places. Let's look at the top 500, which maybe isn't... That's a good sample size, 500. So in 2v2. So, all right. You can see for healers, Discipline Priest is by far and away the best right now. Like, it's crazy. It's very interesting, though. The rest of the healers actually seem to be, like, relatively even. Like, all the other healing specs from the data I've seen are kind of like, everyone seems to be playing them on kind of a consistent basis. It's like, Disc is way ahead, and then you have all the other healers kind of just lumped up on a similar playing field. So it begs the question, like, do you guys think... It's actually a good conversation. Do you guys think that Disc is too good and needs to be nerfed? Or is Disc the only healer that feels good and they need to buff all the other healers? Like, is Disc the only one that can actually deal with this meta? And every other healer needs to be Disc Priest level? Or does Disc need to be nerfed? That's the question. Because I hear from Disc Priest, it's like, I finally feel good, like healing feels fun. But then I hear from the some other healers that it's like, the game is too damp. Like, people are saying the game's too damp. So I think healer balance, to me, is like the #1 issue. All this matters, but this matters the most. For the game to be healthy, I feel like all the healers need to be viable and fun. That's the #1 priority. So if we do see changes on Friday, I want to see a bunch of changes to healers. Keep in mind, this is 2s, okay? We're still just looking at 2s. So we'll just quickly go through this. Aug, Ellie, Boomy, Fire, Arcane, Destro, Dev are the less popular range specs so far in 2v2 at the higher end. And then the more popular is actually Shadow Priest, surprisingly. BM and Marks Hunter. Affliction, Frost, and Demo, which I think it doesn't really surprise many people. And then for melee, we got Fury Warrior. A lot of people playing Windwalker Monk, which has been fun. I've been messing around with that a little bit. Feral, Asa, Arm, Sub, Demon Hunter, and then the least popular 2 specs are going to be, Enhance Ret, Frost DK, Unholy DK, Outlaw, and Survival Hunter. Okay, so let's look at 3s. 3s, I think, like the top 500 3s, this is like players take this a little bit more seriously than 2s, so this might be better data than what we just saw. For melee DPS, it seems very similar. You got Asa, Windwalker Monk, Feral, Fury, Ret Paladin, Arms Warrior, Demon Hunter, and I think these numbers are actually not too far off. It seems like everything's kind of being played at this point. We could look at the top 100. We'll do top 100 after this, just to take a quick little look. We got Unholy, Enhancement, Frost, Survival, Sub as the lesser popular specs right now. And then for range DPS, Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest, I think, is a big one for me. When I'm looking at all of these numbers of what range DPS classes are doing well, I feel like Shadow Priest, no one really talked about them. And they've been doing really well. Like, Shadow Priest seem really solid right now. Affliction, Frost, no big surprises. BM, Boomy, Ellie, Marks. And I do think, I'm just going to say this out loud. I think a lot of the Ellie shamans have been sandbagging. I don't think Ellie's nearly as bad as people think it. Like, I don't think Ellie's nearly as bad as people are saying. That's what I'm going to say. I think a lot of people are acting like Ellie's the worst spec in the game since the Prime Wave change. And it doesn't, like, in my experience, that doesn't seem to be the case. And then the lesser popular specs are Aug, Arcane, Fire, Destro, Demo. Now let's take a look at healers. Disc still seems to be the most popular, followed by Paladin and Shaman, and then kind of a big drop off to Prez, Holy, and then a bigger drop off to Resto, and Mistweaver seems to be the least popular spec once again. There you go. So that is top 500. Now I want to narrow this down to top 100 and see what all the super sweaties are playing. It's a way less sample size, but still the trends continue. Disc at the top, followed by Shadow Priest, Affliction, Frost. Some Arcane Mages actually doing well, so at the top end, I think Arcane is actually looking really, really strong. It's interesting to see not that many Marks Hunters high rated in 3s, but I think a big part of that... Actually, Windwalker Monks too, doing really well. Windwalker Monks, Ferals, Fury, Asa, followed up by Unholy, Arms. And then you have some of these other classes that aren't doing as well, but nothing too bad with the sample size, of course. It's top 100. But yeah, still seems to be Shaman kind of following Disc Priest, and then the rest of the healers, it kind of falls off a cliff with Mistweaver and Holy Priest once again being Garbanzo Beans. Windwalker rerolls have been insane this season. Yeah, Windwalker, I started playing my Windwalker yesterday. As kind of a side note, Windwalker Monk is really weird. It's the weirdest it's ever been, but it's like kind of fun. Like the way you play Windwalker Monk is so much different than it's ever been. Like you use Crackling Jade Lightning and your Celestial Conduit and like Rising Sun Kick and Fist of Fury don't do any damage. Like, I don't know, it's really weird. At least that was my experience. Maybe I'm totally off about that. But let's take a look at Solo Shuffle. So that was rated Arena, 2s and 3s. Let's look at Solo Shuffle. I don't even know. I don't think anyone is 2400. That's way too small of a sample size. We'll use 2100. So let's see what people are doing at the top. All right, here we go. Now we're seeing the Marks Hunters in Solo Shuffle. Discipline Priest once again. At 2100 and above, it's 60% Discipline Priest. That's crazy, bro. I do think, yeah, someone in the chat mentioned that we don't have tier yet. So some classes, like Frost Mage, for example, you're not going to use tier. So I don't know what classes actually get a big power spike from tier, but like Windwalker Monk's tier is not that good, I think. Frost Mage tier is not that good. I'm not sure about what it is for the other specs. I know Affliction Warlock gets a massive power spike. But yeah, look at Disc in Solo Shuffle. This is both regions, 2100 plus. Disc is absolutely cracked right now, followed up by Resto and Paladin, and then after that, it just falls off a cliff again, where it seems like Druids, Mistweavers, Prez, and Holy Priest not doing so good. I had Prez at S tier, but maybe I was wrong about that one. Doesn't seem to be keeping up with some of these other healers right now. All right, what do we got? Then we got Marks Hunters. This is kind of what I expected. Seems like Marks Hunter in uncoordinated play, like Solo Shuffle, is doing a lot better. We got Affliction, Shadow, Dev, Frost, followed by Fire, Destro, Ellie, Arcane, Demo, Boomy. Demo not doing so well. Kind of surprising. And then we have Windwalker Monk, Demon Hunters, Arms Warriors doing better than I thought. I thought that Fury was just overshadowing Arms right now, but it seems to be a little bit better in that uncoordinated situation. In Solo Shuffle, it's interesting when some specs just do so much better in Shuffle, followed by, you know, Fury, Asa, Ret, Feral, Unholy, Sub, Frost, and then, yeah, Outlaw, Enhance, Survival. So, very interesting. I think the only Giga Clear outlier to me is this. Like I said, I feel like the most important thing for me personally, if we see changes, is healer balance. Like some of the weaker healers, you definitely want to see, you know, some positive changes to them, and then maybe some like I kind of feel like maybe Shamans are in a decent spot. Shamans and Paladins are maybe okay. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they need buffs, but I feel like some of these other specs definitely need some buffs. This spec needs, you know, I don't know, you could say maybe it needs a nerf. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it is interesting. Even Disc Priest, let's see, is there any? Oh my god, there's actually decent data at 2400. What? That's crazy. People are already 2400 in Battleground Blitz. Is that right? These guys have been gaming, man. People are 2900? Okay. Yeah, what? Yeah, they haven't had as much time, but I guarantee you this is going to go crazy today. All right, anyways, so I guess people are 2400 plus. And Mistweavers are still doing pretty well. They did get some nerfs. Let's see, 2400, both regions. Yep. Rep Paladins is doing surprisingly well in Battleground Blitz, I guess. All the Rep Paladins in Arena just playing there. Frost Mage is doing well. Boomies. All these are pretty solid, it seems like. And then, yeah, all these melee are pretty solid. Once again, it seems to be Prez, Disc, and Mistweaver, and then the rest, yeah, a little bit lower. But yeah, very interesting. I wonder what they're going to do for changes. But it's been an interesting first few days, and I expect a lot of the trends we're seeing here to continue until there are kind of balancing changes. And some specs that maybe aren't shown as well, like Arcane Mage, for example, I actually think is really good. Like Arcane Mage, even though it's not well represented, I don't think that's indicative of its strength at the moment. I think it's really, really strong. And I think there's other specs like that too, like Destro. So we'll have to wait and see.